The fate of Leroy Jethro Gibbs' original NIS team from NCIS is explored in the franchise's spin-off NCIS Origins. This prequel delves into Gibbs' early years, shedding light on key figures like Mike Franks, Vera Strickland, and others. Some team members, like Vera Strickland, have more defined outcomes, with her retirement and continued connection to Gibbs. Others, like Randy Randolph, are given deeper backstories, revealing pivotal moments in their careers. Meanwhile, characters like Lala Dominguez have uncertain fates, suggesting trauma from Gibbs' past. Mike Franks, Gibbs' mentor, ultimately retires and moves to Mexico. The show provides insights into these characters' paths while adding to the complexity of Gibbs' own history, including his personal losses. Gibbs' future is left open-ended as NCIS Origins explores his past, offering a fresh perspective on his journey. What happened to Gibbs' original NIS team in NCIS? Due to the rich history of the flagship series, conclusions exist about the fate of Leroy Jethro Gibbs and Mike Franks' original NIS team in NCIS. The franchise's most recent spin-off explores the backstory of Agent in Charge Gibbs, bringing conversations about his former colleagues back into orbit with NCIS Origins. The show revives critical figures from Gibbs' background, such as Mike Franks and Vera Strickland. The NCIS Origins cast also brings connections from Gibbs' narrative out of the shadows, introducing new characters whose involvement bolsters the story of what happened to Gibbs' wife and daughter in NCIS. NCIS Origins has been a significant project for the franchise, making an established character's story even more robust. The prequel explains how Gibbs navigated his family's death in more detail, shifting the narrative and perceptions of Gibbs' story. Still, some facts established in the flagship NCIS series can never change, including what happens to key NCIS Origins characters like Gibbs' mentor. While many details of the NCIS Origins story and Gibbs' original NIS team remain unknown, the NCIS franchise has filled in plenty of blanks with existing detail and foreshadowing within the narrative that explains where each member lands. Vera Strickland, played by Roma Mafia and Diane Rodriguez. While she only appears once in the flagship series, Roma Mafia establishes a robust character as Vera Strickland. Her single appearance is enough to know precisely where Vera's story is heading, but leaves room for her narrative to contain plenty of surprises in NCIS Origins. The most important thing we know about the character from her flagship appearance is that Vera is still alive in 2013, since the franchise introduced Vera in NCIS Season 11, Episode 3, Under the Radar. Vera's appearance means that Vera will live through the prequel series, which NCIS doesn't guarantee for all the prequel characters. Ziva David's NCIS departure is fresh on everyone's minds when Vera visits the Navy Yard in Season 11, with Cote de Pablo's character departing in the preceding episode. Due to Ziva's absence and McGee losing his NCIS credentials at a concert with Abby, Gibbs puts Vera on the case. She investigates alongside Anthony DiNozzo as the team investigates an explosion at the apartment of Lieutenant Junior Grade Terrence Keith, despite her pleading with Gibbs not to send her, noting that she only has 2 weeks left in her career and doesn't want to put herself in harm's way. We can assume that Vera safely retired from NCIS and used her retirement to joyride and occasionally visit Gibbs, who she knows leaves the front door open. Benjamin Randy Randolph, played by Caleb Martin Foote. While we don't know what will happen to Randy, NCIS Origins Episode 8 provides a deeper look into Caleb Martin Foote's character. Episode 8 offers more profound insights into Randy and his motivations, potentially indicating where his story is heading. During the outing, Randy confesses to a Catholic priest under his protection that he was initially assigned as the protective detail for Shannon and Kelly's case but asked to be unassigned from the high-profile job due to personal circumstances. Randy explains that he had a sick baby at home and made his request due to stress and exhaustion. While Randy blames his decision for Special Agent Kurt Mitchell's unfortunate fate, Randy's ability to know when to take a step back from his work saved his life. Lala Dominguez, played by Mariel Molino. While Lala's ending is still uncertain halfway through NCIS Origins Season 1, the provided context suggests a heavy fate. In the NCIS Origins premiere, Gibbs describes the story he is telling, the premise of NCIS Origins, which CBS promoted as the agent's first few years at NIS, as the story of her, referring to Agent Dominguez. Mark Harmon's narration as Old Gibbs describes Lala's story as one he doesn't talk about, which suggests Lala's story is another tale in a series of traumatic instances from Gibbs' past that he doesn't much like to discuss, like Shannon and Callie's murder. Cliff Wheeler. Played by Patrick Fischler. While we don't know much about Special Agent in Charge Cliff Wheeler, due to his lack of mentions in NCIS and his minor presence in NCIS Origins, he is a driven character, and we can make some assumptions about where he lands. On the surface, it's hard to read whether that character positively or negatively impacts Mike Frank's team and whether he is a villain. However, Cliff seems aligned with Frank's moral compass despite their differences, such as allowing Franks to hire Gibbs despite his failed psych evaluation, which suggests a few possibilities for his future. NCIS Origins Cast. Character: Austin Stoll. Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Mariel Molino. Special Agent Lala Dominguez. Kyle Schmid. Special Agent Mike Franks. Diane Rodriguez. Special Agent Vera Strickland. Tyla Abercrombie. Officer Mary Jo Sullivan. Caleb Martin Foote. Special Agent Benjamin Randy Randolph. Patrick Fischler. Special Agent in Charge Cliff Wheeler. Mike Franks. Played by Muse Watson and Kyle Schmid. We know what happened to Mike Franks, Gibbs' original NIS team leader, due to his robust story in the flagship NCIS series. Muse Watson established the Michael Franks character on NCIS, appearing more than most of the series' recurring guest characters. Mike Franks first appears in NCIS Season 3, Episode 23, Hiatus Part 1, when director Jennifer Shepard calls on the former team leader to jog Gibbs' memory back to the present in one of the best NCIS episodes. Watson continues to appear as Franks through Season 15, ultimately appearing as a hallucination when Gibbs needs advice from his mentor. After his retirement, Franks flees to a beach in Mexico to pursue a simpler life, where director Shepard eventually finds the former team leader. Mary Jo. Played by Tyla Abercrombie. Since she's a new character for the franchise, very little is known about the fate of the secretary for the NIS Camp Pendleton field officer, Mary Jo Hayes. Still, while Mary Jo is never mentioned in the flagship NCIS series, that doesn't necessarily mean she meets a tragic fate. There are no context clues that Mary Jo is heading toward her demise, as there are with Special Agent Lala Dominguez. While it's true that Gibbs never mentions Mary Jo in the NCIS story, his lack of mentioning the secretary could easily be explained by the many years that have passed. Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Played by Mark Harmon and Austin Stoll. Perhaps the most familiar and recognized conclusion of all Franks and Gibbs' original NIS team members is Leroy himself. What happens to the agent in charge is established in NCIS Season 19, Episode 4, Great Wide Open, which served as Gibbs' retirement and Mark Harmon's NCIS exit after nearly 2 decades with the series. After a case takes Gibbs and McGee to Alaska, the former decides to stay and retire in the last frontier, finding peace in Naktok Bay, Alaska, where he fishes with his senior field agent before McGee bids him farewell and takes off for Washington alone. What happens to Gibbs is still being written. While we didn't hear from Gibbs for several years following his retirement, NCIS Origins picks up where the flagship left off, checking in with Mark Harmon's Gibbs character as he pens a previously unwritten story about his early years at NIS in the 1990s and his relationship with Special Agent Lala Dominguez. While Gibbs' future was previously a closed book, the franchise has reopened the future of Mark Harmon's story by opening up Gibbs' past, using the character's present-day perspective to explore a pivotal moment in his past. Therefore, what happens to Gibbs is still being written.